Now we're all set to begin with our next panel discussion on war for talent, attracting and retaining the right talent, a question that each of us have in our minds, and we have our expert panelists joining us on stage to share their experiences on what they feel on the subject. Let me present to you Ms. Deepa Misra, Capability Lead, APAC, Middle East and Africa, Mondelēz International. May I request all of you to please put your hands together as she steps forward. Accompanying her on the stage is Ms. Shraddha Pradhan, Vice President, Human Resources, ICICI General Insurance. A round of applause for her, please. Thank you so very much. May I also present to you Tirthankar Raychaudhury, Vice President, HR, Bennett, Coleman and Company Limited. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And a very warm welcome to our moderator, Ms. Kashish Kapoor, Vice President, HR, NEC Corporation India Private Limited, joining us as she's the one who heads HR and takes it forward on an all-new level. So who better than her to put this session together and weave it all? After our segment of about 45 minutes, we look forward to a couple of questions from the audience. For now, may I hand over to you, please? Can we have the timer on, please?
So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Hope all of you have had a good lunch, and we can have some really good, engaging discussions today. We have a great panel with Deepa, Shraddha, and Tirthankar here. So, we will try to at least debate and solve for what is one of the biggest questions going on in our minds. The war for talent is not a new term. We've been struggling with this forever, in the last 2 years more than ever before. This was a term which was actually coined by Stephen Hankin of McKinsey in 1997. We are living it today. We've seen how difficult it is becoming to both engage and retain talent, and keep on board, engage, retain, hire, the entire life cycle, the kind of shifts that we are doing culturally within organizations to ensure that we have an edge over the others in this war for talent. The skills are dramatically changing. The technology is moving very fast. Digitalization has taken a quantum leap. The workforce is no longer centered only in our offices. It is spread across. We have hybrid, we have remote, we have work from home. We have a whole new lot of terminology which is there, which has taken over our very, very traditional lingos and terms that we were used to. In the midst of that, that's the new flavor that's got added, which is the whole talent piece, which has taken a complete 360-degree shift. So we'll try and spend some time in these next 30 minutes to try and understand this a little more in detail, ideate and talk and dialogue around what is happening, what is it that we can do to at least bring some amount of sanity in the way we are going to be approaching the talent market. So I'll reach out to Tirthankar, and let's begin with you, Tirthankar. The first question that I wanted to open up to the panel here is that the global war for talent is already intense pre-pandemic. It's intensified now. It's becoming even more competitive than ever before. What has been your experience in this regard?
So, very good afternoon to all of you. So, our experience as an organization, Bennett and Coleman, which is part of Times Group. So, we also experienced attrition. And attrition, what we say was scary at 12%. Normally, we as an organization has experienced attrition of 5 to 6%, because we are really a great place to work. And we also face a lot of challenges in between to fill up these positions. But what we did is that we took this opportunity to look at how we can become a future fit organization. Because as an organization strategy, you know that print is our core, but we also wanted to give content to readers across platform. So we are calling audience across platform. So digital would become an important capability to become future fit. So we invested a lot to hire new talent who are future fit from a digital capability point of view. At the same time, what we understood is that during the pandemic, people have experienced a lot of issue with respect to psychological safety, with respect to stress people have gone through. We wanted to hire people and leadership who can have this, because psychological safety is very, very critical for an organization to drive accountability, to drive innovation. So leadership, we wanted to get people with empathy, who can continue to drive transparency and care, because one of the important value is care and concern for our employees. So the focus was a lot towards future fit and leadership. At the same time, the cost was increasing. People cost was increasing because offers are very high, the expectation from people are very high. We deployed alternate employment model, right? We employed a gig, and gig is one of the very important source of employment for us, not only from a cost optimization point of view, but we are from a productivity point of view. And that also we have taken as a leadership team to drive gig, at least 10% of our workforce to be gig. Not from a cost optimization, we should not mix cost with respect to productivity. If we drive productivity significantly, get the right hyper skills that are required from the market, automatically there will be a work on the cost optimization also. And we are actively working on an ecosystem which is very friendly for a gig employment also. So that's what we are talking about, is not only a full-time employment, a gig, and also a consultant is also considered as talent. Talent is now considered those who provide economic value to the organization, or we are calling as talent, and that is how we are driving our recruitment process accordingly. And we are also enabling our partners also to drive and support us.
Thank you, Tirthankar. I think redefining the talent has got redefined as a word. The gig is begun to take shape more formally. Alternate employment models, I think that is a new one. That's where we are becoming disruptive in this world. Moving on to you, Deepa, what has been your experience on this?
Yeah, thank you so much, and great perspectives. And I hope I'm audible to everybody. So let me step back for a moment, right? There's a lot of global gloom and doom with recession being, part of the lingo globally. But I think India, on the other hand, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of resurgence, industries are hiring, there's a lot of, and this is secular, right? It's across industries, it's across functions, it's across roles. So I think from a war for talent or from a recruitment perspective, we definitely are seeing the RPM kind of really going up, and the expectations to get the best talent really zooming up. I think that's the broad context from a macro perspective. For us as an organization, I think as a consumer organization, I work for Mondelēz, so we are in the snacking space with our chocolates and our biscuits. What we've seen is really high consumer demand, high growth, but we've also seen certain shifts in the consumer, and that is really the way we drive our business strategy and our hiring processes. So when we look at the way the consumer has shifted, so much of movement towards e-commerce, towards digital, towards convenience, towards wellness, that has prompted us also to relook at what it means for us from a talent perspective. What's the kind of talent that needs to come into an organization like this? And we've really had to ramp up hence on future forward skills, which for us would be areas like digital, would be areas like e-commerce. We are really investing in those areas, and I would say that those are the areas a lot of companies now are acknowledging and recognizing post-COVID, and the war of talent is really intense in some of those spaces. For us as a company, it is something which is essential for our not just survival, but for our thriving in the future, and I think those are places where we've invested efforts. The other pieces is around leadership, and I think this is where the COVID impacts also helped us in terms of realizing a few things in terms of what's important in leadership. Some of the core values that we had really helped and came in play at this point of time, whether it was our resilience, because I think this was a time when resilience completely got tested, right? Because it couldn't have been tested more. It couldn't have been a bigger black swan than this. No one predicted this. But our ability of managers to have resilience, the ability to have agility in such situations really did get tested. And I think it spoke volumes that we were able to handle this so effectively, but it continues now to become even more important as we hire and bring leaders in, or as we develop leaders. So I think that's the other element of leadership that we are critically looking at. So niche skills as well as leadership. And I would also say that the space around diversity has also got amped up. I think there's been a lot of realization organizations across the world and in India have had around how we need to really amp that space. And I think a lot of effort there in the space of getting diverse candidates. And again, that's a space where we see an intense war for talent. And I think those have been some of the spaces we've been experiencing as an organization.
Thanks, Deepa. I think very well said. You know, the whole piece around how new diverse talent pools are becoming more and more attractive and the need of the hour today. Moving on to you, Shraddha, what are your thoughts around this?
So I think I will comment on across industry, not just our industry. I come from BFSI. I will also try and connect why things were happening like this, so that strategically when we look at it, we know what are the choices that we have. So first of all, it started off with great resignation era. Then it started having rage quitting because people started burning out, sitting at home, overstretched work hours. All of us have faced that. And third thing was then revenge hiring, which started now. And this revenge hiring was to such extent that except for political parties, everybody else hired from everywhere else. So first thing that even HR and business folks had to think was, what are the alternate talent pools? We had to look at that. And that was so tough. So campuses came, and which is why diversity came. So far nobody thought about diversity. Last 1 decade, some organizations were doing extremely well in that space. But because of cost, because of availability at the right time, at the right cost, people looked at diversity as a talent pool available. People looked at campus as a talent pool available. And the third most important thing is, where in these tough times, and take care of them. I think that day we were having conversation, we were to hire some hundreds of people in one of our line of business. And I was hearing and the business leader telling me, you have only 15 people to hire, double it. Attrition double hai, dropouts high. I said, why don't you retain? Do you know why people are staying back with you? I think time has come to go back to basic. I would also invite all of us to rethink and introspect and do things the right way, give experiences which are appropriate to your existing people first. Let attrition come under, I won't say control, but let's spread our hands and embrace. Tsunami, she said, you know, it's a recruitment tsunami, interviewing tsunami. Don't be in the waves of tsunami, you will get swept away anyways. Run to the other side of the seashore, yeah, where there is enough and more for us. Old pastures, old talent pools, existing employees, existing talents. Yes, there are different things which are coming. The niche talent has come, hot talent has come, you name it. It's no more like who are the great leaders. It's all this talent, and your resources are going to spread thin. Let's face it. In that, your existing people, and who are your brand ambassadors? Glassdoor is there. I said they should open, I would challenge Sapphire to open a wood door, to write about people who are staying back and why are they staying back. Let the positivity go around. That's what I would say.
I think, thank you, Shraddha. You're leading us to the next question, but very interesting thoughts, you know, going back, connecting, reconnecting and building that connect with your existing employees and investing in them can just be the game changer. Let's move on to the next question, and I'll go back to you, Shraddha, for this since you led us here. What is it that we need to do today to build that employee engagement?
Sure. I think time has come to stick to, as I said, back to basics. So if you take and plot employee life cycle, there are critical events they go through. And in these critical, let's say even onboarding, if your earlier score was in 90s, 95s, let's look at what are the changed parameters and expectations employees have, build that in and capture and ensure. I think today the time has come literally for HR and business both to sit and ensure that the experiences to those employees are what they are expecting. I think you were saying that in our discussion in the lounge, that time has come, probably the culture has to match with the employee. Its policies have to match with the employees. And time will come soon, you will have HR manual for every employee, I think, in the organization. Okay? And that flexibility is what is expected on one hand. So first is that. So whatever you are having as a strength, do the basics correct, ensure employee experience, so that is one. Second is, there are like companies emerging within the companies, like digital. Like these people are like unseen, unheard, they are like digital, you know, everywhere, they are IT. So it is for a while, for here to stay. I mean, let's not treat them separately, it's in the same umbrella, but there are certain nuances and requirement that they have. Their salaries would be different, their reward structures would be different, their requirements in terms of flexibility is going to be different. How are we, or our employee value proposition, as she said, is going to even match and include some of these people? Otherwise, with that exclusivity of this important and niche key talents, you're not going to go ahead. Now, succession planning, for example, it's no more going to be critical position and incumbent being hypo. It's now also for this type of talent pool, and which is not at the top. It could be everywhere. It's like this in the organization. It's not, no more all these people are critical and above that, and I take care of them. No more. So let's be mindful about things which we have to do it differently. So one is the branding, second is succession planning. Some of these processes, even rewards, continuous reward mechanism is required. Instant is required. But that's what they are going to compare you and me with. Salaries everyone can pay. What will make a difference is employee experience. And that stems from what culture, the collective belief of the organization, that all of us do it together. So if you want to change culture, culture will change it. So how fast and nimble you are to adapt to this, and how fast you are able to implement to do ring fence your talent. That's what I think is the key question.
Thank you, Shraddha. I think I'll take away back to basics from there, agility around how we are going to be, our interactions, how agile our interactions are going to be with the employees, and how we can bring them together and make them more cohesive to what the organization's vision is. I'll move on to you, Tirthankar, for your thoughts on what can amplify the employee engagement in today's world.
So first I just get back. So why we exist? We exist because of our consumer. Our consumer behaviors are changing rapidly. The needs and preferences are changing. So what is important is that organization agility is very important. And now let me come back to the, and when we talk about organization agility, is that it also has an impact on the people. But when we talk about experience, let us see how these people have experienced during the pandemic. Huge issues, stress, huge psychological safety issues, and once pandemic was over, people have started getting new opportunities. Now it is important to focus on the culture. And what I again said, it is very, very critical from an employee experience point of view to have a culture of psychological safety, where leadership empathize, drive transparency, and drive authentic conversation. It is very easy to say, but very difficult to practice, and it requires huge investment on leadership to sustain this as a culture. The second is important from a clarity point of view, because we are right now in a hybrid ecosystem. How do we engage our people from different conversation point of view is something leadership also needs to focus on. Third, where people are also facing issue is how to drive productivity. It's very, very critical is that giving a clear sense of purpose why your job exists, what is to be delivered in a hybrid ecosystem again, because we need to continue to make that successful. In order to make that successful, you need to give clarity to employees. That's why it's very, very important to have a robust objective setting. So it is always there. We also have started with an OSM model to drive objectives in terms of goal cascading, so that each and every person, wherever it is, being able to share what is to be delivered. And we also are doing a regular performance conversation. It is not that I'm going to wait for this conversation in the mid of the year and the end of the year. Continuous performance check-in is something that we have launched, and we have also implemented, we have made it digitally able so that people can leverage it. So, and there would be other host of employee experiences thing that we have introduced a chatbot called the TIVA, Times Virtual Assistant, so that any issue that you face, you look for an HR person to take help. We want the chatbot to help you with all the issues. At the same time, what we do is that we also use the chatbot to drive surveys to see the pulse of the organization, because see, it is not a once in a year annual survey that you wait for to understand the pulse, because things are moving very fast. You see your score of if you see the feedbacks across in a digital platform are moving so fast. How can you wait for an annual survey to understand what's happening within the organization? So the chatbot would help you significantly. And that is how we are significantly and understanding what are the challenge areas, and we are taking immediate actions to ensure that people are finding it's a great place to work like that.
Thank you so much. I think again, so it's back to basics, it's digital, it's high employee connect. I think that's what's going to help us navigate this. Coming back to you, Deepa, what are your thoughts around building this employee engagement pillar?
So I think let's get back to why we are in the war for talent. Every organization wants the right capacity and the right kind of talent in the organization, which helps them succeed, because in the end it is a competitive space. We spoke quite a bit on talent attraction and how to go out and hire and bring those people in, but really, if we even spend, a fraction of more effort on retaining and developing who's inside, I think you're going to see manifold return on that effort. Because there's just so much effort around running behind a tsunami wave, but here are a set of employees working with you who know the business, who bring in a lot of capital in terms of understanding ways of working, have great ideas on how to work on the business, and really focusing efforts on that is what gives you manifold returns. It gives you manifold returns not just because these people are happy and they're engaged, but they're also the ones who are creating your employer brand. Because they're the ones who go out and tell their friends, wow, I enjoy the work I'm doing. They do this over Friday night parties. It might not even be an interview conversation. It could be just someone they meet casually, and they say that I work for this company, and then somebody will ask you how it is, and they talk about it. And that's the real feedback people look for. People are no longer just looking for what's, as I said, put up beautifully on sites, but they really look for this kind of feedback. And this is what the real experience of the employee is.
अंदर की बात
अंदर की बात बिल्कुल, और सच्चाई बात, राइट, जो तुम शाम को फ्राइडे पे पार्टी पे आज शाम को फ्रेंड्स के साथ मिलके करते हो. The point is, there was a point of time when engagement was only saying more discretionary effort by the employee. But today it is, as all my panelists also said, really about continuous listening. Colleagues want to be listened to. They want to, you to understand how they are feeling across their life stage on a regular and ongoing basis. It is not about, as someone said, an annual survey, a great set of reports which we spend 3 months analyzing and before we start to make actions. So they're looking for much more quick, prompt listening mechanisms, but more importantly, if you don't act, those listening mechanisms can be thrown out, because then you will not find people responding. They respond only when they believe that you value their response and that you're bringing actions to life. So I think that's the big piece from an engagement and retention perspective that we need to keep in mind. And we're looking at engagement, it is of course around how they experience the work, how empowered are they enjoying what they're doing, do they feel impact in what they're doing, do they have a great career with the organization. These are important to people now, career, growth, learning. All the new generations are completely now talking about learning agility, getting the opportunity to learn, getting the opportunity to be valued, to make impact. They want to feel belonged, right? There is a social need we all have. How collaborative is the organization? Are they having people they can work well with? Do they enjoy working here? There's a social aspect. And then there's this larger organization aspect around the company, the values. Do they feel aligned to that? Is that purpose making them feel energized? Right? So those are all the elements which they experience, which as HR folk we measure in surveys, in engagement surveys, but I think the big message for us is not just measuring, not just listening, but continuously acting, and continuously acting in a very customized way. Because I think we've tended sometimes when it comes to our policies, etc., to say a one size fits all. This is our leave policy, this is our travel policy, so on and so forth. I think we need to recognize that even within the organization, there is a huge set of groups. So really looking at a very design thinking approach, and I don't want to use jargon, but really an approach to say, what is this employee wanting? And that's where flexibility on wellness, flexibility on benefits, policies are all coming our way. It's stuff that we all as HR folks are working on, trying to say that what is meaningful to the employee, asking them feedback on some of the policies we want to put out and say, does this work for you if we go out and roll? Also realizing that, let's say a group like women, okay? We can't just treat them as one group. There are people at different life stages, they have different needs. So really being aware what different personas need and making sure that our processes and policies speak to them, and that people feel valued are important. And I want to also then underscore the role of the manager. I think on engagement, there has been far too long in reliance on HR to own the engagement results. At the end of the day, they are owned by the line manager. They are the ones who manage the experience for you in the company to a large extent. I remember an earlier panelist talking about how the culture was something at the top and at different layers. That's not acceptable to any employee today, and that's the first reason they would quit and go. So making sure that you have managers who do that is important.
Yeah, so if I can come in, so I think you're talking about making more personalized, credible, trust, respect, exposure and experience for the employees. Okay, quick, we'll open it up for questions now. Just quick one-liners from all of you. Do you think this bubble is going to burst? Anybody?
So I don't consider this as a bubble. It is suddenly what has happened, the business has taken off. Everything is dependent on how the country GDP, how the business is doing. So suddenly the business has taken off and there is a huge demand in the market in terms of right capability, skill set. So as long as we grow as a country in terms of GDP, businesses continue to grow, there would be a correction that would happen. But I don't see it is a bubble, it is typically a demand-supply gap that happens.
So positive from your end.
Yeah, I see it as a positive.
Simply, it's like tsunami. So wave has come, we have all rode, some have sunk, and it's going to subside definitely, leaving different landscape.
Great, positive again. Deepa.
The word war for talent has been around since '97, as you said. I don't think it's going away. The war will definitely remain. You may find ebbs and tides and, but the war is definitely going to stay. As long as the economy continues to grow, as long as positive outlook is there.
But we'll be able to solve for it.
Yes.
So positive again. And at this point, thank you everybody for sharing your thoughts on the questions. We open it up for any questions that the audience may have for anybody.
Hi, good afternoon. So to all the delegates. So my question to Shraddha, because I represent Tata AIG General Insurance as a TA. So as you said rightly, pandemic mein health insurance something was booming. That's like all insurance industry started looking at that time. So daud thi kafi. So as you rightly said that we started looking at other industry, as a targeting to create that pull and put up a numbers, because numbers lane the business productivity increase karne, rightly say 53, 54%, that's a growth. Do you think it's, as I seeing it, I mean, because health industry ke chakkar mein jo humne numbers badhaye, now it is affecting our attrition as well. So do you think that, as we cross-functionally looked at other industries, so the quality of hiring people, getting into people on board, so how's your experience in, ICICI Lombard? And a second question for me is, what are the best practices you guys are managing? Because we started also exploring tier 3, tier 4 cities. So employee engagement and connect, that was a major thing, as an HR person to manage that. So how was your experience on that?
I'll quickly answer first question as to, we have started hiring for health from other industries, other companies, other sectors as well. And I think that's been a mixed experience. But I think the key for that is to make people job ready sooner and effectively, and keep on doing that. Second thing is obviously tapping the talent pools other than industry. So not always look out for experienced people. That's the first question answer that I have. Second answer that you asked is about what are some of the best practices. I think already spelled out. Look at creatively to the different talent pools and look at creating more long-term interventions to make people ready, job ready, especially in the health space, which we have done to a large extent.
Any other questions? You can also share your thoughts, comments, if not a question. So how many of us are feeling the pressure of the war for talent? We can do a show of hands. Okay, that's not bad. So the rest of us have figured out how to deal with this phase.
We are facing the pressure, but we think we are soldiers, right? We'll fight it out.
I think that positive mindset, we all spoke about mental well-being and the whole space around the work-life balance. I think that positivity towards this subject needs to be there to take the first step forward. Absolutely agree. Any other questions? Sorry.
Hi, good afternoon. Panel, this is Dinesh here. Hi. My question to the great panel is, in this talent war, which Shraddha ma'am and all panelists have shared their view, how do you attract C-suite talent with empathy? So it is easy to connect people on LinkedIn, different digital platform. But then if you want to hire a CIO or if you want to hire a CTO, how do you excite them with empathy, both primarily in the pandemic times, because presently the situation is great. Every organization has budget, so you can back them. But then how do you have a high EV, the emotional quotient, the empathy, that the senior management should come and join only your organization? What is the difference parameter which will you adapt? Yes, thank you.
Okay, who wants to take that? Okay, I can just, so my views on that is, today the authenticity of an organization has to take the forefront in any type of hiring. And that authenticity should match with the value system of, be it a C-suite or be it even the junior level employees that you're hiring. So I think that authenticity and absolute clarity around the roadmap of the organization is something which can actually bring the right person on board for you. But I'll reach out, Deepa.
Maybe just a build, but yeah, I think great points. I think when you're looking at C-suite, you're talking really senior leaders who've got extensive experience, maybe across industries, across their career. They're also very clear, hopefully, by the time they're at that level to, in terms of what is the kind of impact that they want to have. They have a view on, wanting to tackle something complex, something interesting. I think strategic clarity is one of the things that definitely attracts candidates at that level. They want to know where the business is going, and they want to know how they are shaping that journey. Are they playing a pivotal role in shaping that journey? Is this something they'll enjoy? Will they enjoy the experience of being on that boat with you? I think those are two very, very key pieces. Of course, there are other elements. When you're looking at a C-suite hire, the kind of engagement that you need to have with that kind of a person, the leaders involved, the kind of conversations that they have are very different. But I would think that, to my mind, these two are paramount. Without those, I think the conversation doesn't get started.
Just adding a small thing to what she said is that most important thing, because at the senior level they are already hugely experienced, and even if you are joining the same sector, same industry, every company is different because of culture. And today even culture is undergoing a huge change. The speed at which they have to really come back and suit the requirement. I think one thing which is very, very important to check while you are hiring or retaining the right people is their agility and flexibility to adapt. I think that's going to be very, very pivotal going forward for the success of the organization. There is no doubt in my mind.
So thank you so much, and with that, we wrap on time.
May I request you to please stay on as we take a moment and extend a very warm welcome to Ms. Nidhi Bose, Senior Principal, Sapphire Human Solutions, to please join us on stage, and thank each of you for actively participating and sharing your experiences with us. It's been a pleasure having you here.